Having issues with my. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we are live. I don't know what's going on with the opening. I think it's acting up, but it's okay. How you doing today, man?
We're live. I'm doing well. Doing well.
Yeah,
Glad to be here.
it didn't
Yeah.
play our intro music, so
Okay.
load your stuff in. It's all good.
No
I
worries.
can,
No worries.
I can. I'm gonna do my best impression. It's doom doom. Then it's like Jubilee, and then you see David, you see me, you see Omar. South Star Classroom. We here. We in this thing.
And we're
How you
back.
doing, man? Happy New Year to you, brother. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Doing well. It's been a busy January. It feels like we're already halfway into the year, but we're
Man,
only not even a month into it.
brother, who
Yeah.
are you telling, man? I'm like, I gotta get on a plane and I'm like, damn, I haven't packed. It's a lot going on, man. You look
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
though.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Sorry
My
about your Bears.
Bears lost, but honestly, man, look, they look good. I think if you're a Chicago fan, you got a lot to be happy about. I was hoping the weather would stop them. It's a very warm 6 degrees outside right now.
Oh, it was crazy. Yeah, it's nuts.
I'm wearing long johns today, man. You know what I'm saying? It's the thing. How many times have you worn long johns, brother?
Twice probably.
Oh, it's part of my lineup as a kid, man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We have you gotta for my California people. These are long johns. These are long johns, but it's all
That's
good.
crazy.
I'm gonna try to plow my snow before I head out, but we'll see. You get in trouble with the mail people if you don't clear the ice.
Oh, that's right. They have to
They leave you
deliver.
little. I'll show it next time. They leave you little postcards. They leave it every time, and then if they have to leave it 2 or 3 times, they just won't deliver to you. They can, if you're the owner, you can get sued. So be careful.
Yeah. Yep.
But we have kids in our neighborhood that come and add, $20. They'll do all of it. If I don't see them, I just do it.
Hey, did you happen to catch the LA Rams trolling Freddie Gibbs after the game?
I didn't see him trolling them, but I know Freddie's here for it. I know he likes that, so I'm sure because he's with Caleb Williams. I know he just took a picture with Caleb. I don't know if that was before or after.
Yeah, there was a great. I'll put it in the private chat. You can look at it. It's
Yeah.
pretty funny, man.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
How are you doing, man? Besides the weather, how are you doing?
I mean, the weather's fine, man. I'm used to it now. I like the weather. I think I'm good, man. I just been busy. I don't know if I announced it here. I think you know that we started the Agentic Institute and just been trying to build that out. So what we're actually covering today covers a bit of that, but let me back up a little bit. And this can kind of even go into the show. So I built the Agentic Institute a while ago, like years ago. And I was going to move everything energy converters underneath it. And, everybody that knows me knows Dirk was my guy. He passed away. Another friend of Dirk's had another company. So what we did was we kind of came together for a little bit to try to honor Dirk. And I think we did a good job of it. But just for our needs and what I want to do as far as I think there needs to be more Black institutions. I think there needs to be more brown institutions. And just so people don't think it's a race thing, I think there should be poor white Appalachian institutions. I think people should be researching themselves. So I built that out. We're here. And there were 2 stories in the news today. And it's interesting because these stories that I saw this week, they come from both the anti-reform people and the pro-reform people. You're going to hear from the union points and you're going to hear from the reform people. And I agree with both different ways. So before we get a bit more check, I want to see how you and the family, how the little one is doing. I'll go into that story.
Yeah. You asking me?
Yes, just ask you how you doing, how your family doing, how the little one ain't so little no more.
It's like almost 6 feet tall.
I don't believe it. He'll never be 6 feet to me. He is the little Davidcito that I saw. That I saw. I don't know if I used that right, but that's what I'm saying.
Everybody's good, man. Everybody's good. It's just we had the 3-day weekend. Took some time to kind of sit down as a family and kind of talk about the state of the world, right? and we was playing some music, kind of doing my artistic thing. And I have a number of different either digital or like vinyl records that have used the very famous samples from MLK speeches, right? The I Have a Dream, right? It's very, very, it's used, all over the place. We all know the words, but I was playing some other, a couple of different tracks that I have that actually use some of his other speeches, which were much more militant, right, and not openly and well received by the greater society, where he's going in on conflict in Vietnam and just talking about society and talking about really kind of in a. I think a lot of people haven't heard this, and so people are asking, like, why haven't I heard this yet? This is very engaging, right? And I was like, yeah, well, why do you think you haven't heard it? Because they chose the more like docile king to put out there in the front. It's more, it sits better with people. But some of his speeches were quite militant. I don't know if it was like Malcolm X level militant, but pretty damn militant. So that was something that was an activity that we had yesterday as a family. You're muted.
I said, that's good, man. I'm glad, because I mean, as somebody, I'm a big, huge guy, and that's in the king and like the real king, and that actually, I'm happy to hear that, because a lot of people are not aware, and a lot of people don't know that. So
yeah,
I like hearing that. But well, look, it's just us two. We haven't had a.
Let me plug it real quick. So the speech
ahead.
that I was referring to is the Beyond Vietnam speech.
Okay.
A time to break silence. That was the 1967 speech where he was kind of focused on Vietnam, but also talking about, even early talking about the themes around like national priorities, military, technology, and just the rapid pace of the change that he was seeing in the world back then. So pretty like far out there, pretty progressive. Yeah.
Well, I like anytime you got to start off and tell people that y'all might not like my talk tonight from somebody of his ilk. You're probably gonna get it handed to you. Like I said, I've steeped into a bunch of Martin Luther King speeches. Here's another one. I got it. Hold this. This is just us two. Let's take these liberties.
Yeah.
Here's another one that I look at as well. You can find a bunch of Malcolm speeches. You can find a bunch of Martin speeches. This is the book that I hold very dear. These are the final speeches of Malcolm X before he passed away that were put together. So you saw the Martin Luther King version of stuff like this. So they both have works that you can read beyond the stuff that they were most popular for. And this is eerie because most of these are dated, and they're dated very eerily, like right before he passes away. Like the first one is February 3rd through the 4th of 1965, and it's titled "My Death Has Been Ordered." Interview with Amsterdam News from February 1st to 2nd.
Wow.
The House Negro and the Field Negro, given in Selma, Alabama, February 4th, 1965. Like a lot of these talks are within like weeks, days of each other. It's anybody out there that's watching, you might want to check it out. Malcolm X, the final speeches. Anyway.
Very good. Very good.
Well, you just opened up the nerd in me, brother. This is all you. This is all your fault. All right, man. Let me get this going. I'm gonna bring people in. So tonight we're talking about something that sounds technical, but it's really about trust. Are grades still telling the truth? Because two stories out of California are pointing to the same problem from two different angles. On one side, you got concerns about grade inflation. And this idea that grades are going up while readiness, and especially in math, is going down. Okay. And also grade illusion. I use both of those, but they're slightly different. Grade illusion, where grade inflation is, you might have really did see work, or they're trying to kind of push you through for whatever reason or whatever. Don't want to deal with you having a D or an F. We give you a higher grade, push you through. Grade inflation is some of these young people we work with who are high earners, high achievers, averaging 4.0s. They think that they are proficient in English and math because they got nothing but A's and A pluses. But the content that they're actually learning and mastering isn't in and of itself grade level. Does that make sense? Yes.
Yep.
Now, I know you know this world because you are an educator and you've seen it. You've been there. You've been in the philosophical arguments about it. But the people that don't know this tend to be parents and students who think that when they got that grade, that they're on their way. And it's not that simple. And so that's the first part. That's one of the stories talks about that. And one of the strongest arguments in that report is that this isn't mainly about, it's not about lazy teachers or unions necessarily. It is about systems. It's about incentives. So you might know this, but for our audience, in some districts, teachers are tracked on how many D's and F's they give out. And then those low grades get flagged. If too many students are failing, it can become basically a teacher problem where you're told to revise instruction and all that stuff. And on top of that, failing a student can become expensive in time because you may have to document, parent contacts. You got to show and prove all that stuff, create a paper trail just to justify the grade. So when districts are losing students and funding is tied to attendance, the incentives tilt toward keeping kids passing and graduating. And oh, by the way, when we're trying to show off our schools, we tend to show graduation rates, or this percentage of our student body is above a 3.0 or a 3.5. These are things that people use to sell their schools. On the other side, you've got grading reform spreading. So this is really interesting. I don't know if you've heard about this. This is what people are calling, this is the movement that was started before Trump got in, and it's kind of changing a little bit, but this is grading for equity. So in higher performing suburbs, it's often rebranded as mastery-based or standards-based grading. I've talked about these things for a long time, like how are we matching this stuff up? Because I don't want to, it's not about punishing students. I don't want students to get worse grades. I want their efforts to build up to something that they could actually use. So same basic moves. There you get more retakes and revisions. There's fewer zeros. There's no extra credit, but there's a tighter focus on mastery over point chasing. So some districts even paused partnerships after some of this parent pushback. There was a lot of pushback because of the term equity being in there. And now we're talking about richer schools in suburbs, schools that are probably not falling within necessarily the blue city or whatever the case is, right? So these things get implemented like in piecemeal approaches. So here's where we're going to start tonight. Here's our first question. And you can respond to all of this, have your reaction to everything that's kind of going on, but I'm going to throw the question in there for you. What is a grade supposed to communicate? Is it mastery, compliance, life management? Like, in other words, what belongs in a grade and what should be reported separately? So let's go there. Let's have that conversation. Yeah. It's just us two, so I can't take up all the air.
Man, I think it's a very messy topic, so this is good. Yeah. Because they're actually like living it right now in our household. The question is like, what is a grade? What is it supposed to like demonstrate? Is that right?
I mean, pretty much, right? Like what all this, like,
I mean, in theory,
what an A is right now. Yeah. So what should, I mean,
in theory,
what should mean?
In theory, and I think, what it's supposed to show is that if you get a particular grade in a particular subject at a particular, in a particular grade, so like 10th grade English, you get a B. In theory, that means that you have, ideally, it's a combination of like you've mastered, or you are proficient in the
Right.
subject matter. You also, and then there's also like a participation and engagement, and like, are you just turning in work too? So it's a balance of, I've seen, I think still part of the grade is like, how do you conduct yourself in class? What does your effort look like? And then, are you proficient in, this thing that's called, like, say, for instance, like 10th grade English, right?
Yes.
You've like mastered particular, like, reading skills, writing skills, critical thinking skills, analytical skills.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can apply that to any other subject, any other grade, right? However, I mean, I think that's what it's supposed to show, but
That is what it's supposed to show. Yes,
I mean,
I would agree.
It's so messy because even in schools that have like strong systems,
Mm-hmm.
like they train their teachers about grading. They conduct frequent, grade audits, like you said. Like, I think it's good if you're a teacher.
Absolutely.
And if you have, like, if you're an outlier in terms of like more kids that are on track to fail your class, there should be an early intervention. Like, something's happening here. You need some more support, right? And that should happen early on to give the teacher an opportunity to, like, better support their kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think the challenge is, like, all of this is run, I haven't seen like grading standards. Like, I could turn in like an exit ticket. I can turn in a mini quiz. I can turn in a homework assignment. Teachers don't have time to grade all this paper, or even like electronic, right?
Okay.
I think that's historically been a challenge. So, I mean, I was a teacher. I remember there were times where, Charles, you turned something in and it looked complete to me. You got 10 out of 10. Omar turned something in. It looked like he did half of what you did. So he got 5 out of 10, And Jubilee didn't turn anything in, but then 2 days later, she came back crying, saying, "Oh, I was late. Something happened to my dog or whatever. All right, I'll give you full credit." Right? Did she really earn full credit for turning in something late? There's all these factors that go into it, and that's not even like, that's just like, did you turn it in? The very other end of the spectrum here is what we call like assessment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you take an assessment? It can be a test. It could be some other kind of demonstration to prove that you understand core concepts. And I think that's where we often have the big difference, where, like you said it earlier, like sometimes kids are getting really good grades because that maybe are not earned, because they're in an affluent school, and these teachers don't want to like go up against these parents that are going to like fight and push back. I've also seen kids get grades inflated because teachers felt sorry for the kids in low income schools, right? And so, there's all of this like human kind of emotion and experience that's kind of wrapped into it, which makes it so incredibly subjective. And young people have to navigate this stuff. It's like, why am I getting a C? Why am I getting a B? I don't know. When you took your standardized assessment, when you took your iReady, when you took your NWEA, it's showing that you're in the 90th percentile. So I don't know why you have a C.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a little technical here, but you can see where it's going.
Well, I mean, I loved your answer, and I liked your answer. One, just listening to as a teacher who's being very honest about it. I think for me as a student, it was always the points game. I'm from, for you all that's listening now, I am before the computers. Computers was at the end. There was a grade book, and you could watch them. It had y'all had the grids, and sometimes y'all put the little half dash in between to cut it into two. And those grade book companies used to make money, man. I don't know if they still make those, but I remember those were like big things when I was in grade school and mid and junior high. But it was always a points thing. It was like, okay, what do I need to do to get to 80 points and 90 points? Like, and there were usually like some like extra credit or extra projects or things you could do to earn extra points. And so you could really game the system.
Exactly.
You could game it.
Yeah.
And I remember, and when I moved to California, there was this thing here that I never had before in Illinois or in Kentucky called a citizenship grade. So then it was like, okay, here's the grade for your academics. This is, and at Lafayette where I went, it wasn't A's and B's. It was an E, excellent, S, satisfactory, unsatisfactory. I don't know. It was a weird grading mechanism. Where I was coming from in Kentucky, it was A's and B's. Elementary out here was some other stuff, but it spoke to, satisfactory. You're doing satisfactory in the class. And I remember it because my parents thought it was something. It was like, why do you have this S? What is it? what it says? Are you a satisfactory person? Even when my parents was on the stuff, even when they were struggling, they was like, I don't.
Even then they knew. They're like, this is not
good enough. We're not doing this. And here, let me. I'm covering your face. I'm gonna move you. I'm gonna move you over here. But yeah. So, to me though, it's like there's a miscommunication between school entity and like end user entity. And when I say end user, I'm talking about the students, their parents, and their community. So, like, and I lived in a community. If you take a bunch of straight A's to the barbershop, you might get a free haircut. You might get $1. You might, people culturally and in the community. I remember, especially living in Kentucky, because we lived in the projects, everybody lived. Kentucky is very different from what I grew up with in California. Like when I lived in Kentucky, regardless of race, regardless of color, regardless of how much money you had, you spoke to everybody. Like, so when we came home and we had school buses. California is a place where you got to get on the buses. Illinois and Kentucky both. There's a stoop for you for the neighborhood. This is where your yellow bus comes, picks you up. So the older people in my project, like in my complex, like where we lived, on report card day, they would all be outside. As we're walking home, they would have like buckets of candy or things like that. And like, oh, for every A, here's a Snicker. For every A, here's a Reese bar or a Mars bar. And so it was like a big thing, right? Like it was this communal kind of, like support. And so I think me and all of those people are saying, oh, if he has all A's or A's and B's, that means he's excelling as a student. We are assuming that whatever is being taught is on grade level and you are mastering or you have done enough for this educator to say you have an A in that class. While in real life, in some schools, that shit couldn't be further from the truth. So
yeah, exactly.
While you, I want you to jump in there because it's probably gonna turn into me kind of interviewing you a little bit more because I love this kind of you as the educator and somebody who had to supervise these people and coach these people, to like me kind of looking at the community piece. And I will post both articles in the meantime for the audience.
I mean, so this is a very rich topic.
We can go wherever you want, man.
I think your story of people in the community, really placing a value. I'm not criticizing that, but I'm saying placing such a high value on a grade. I think a lot of people do that, and I think for some people they do it for different reasons. I think some do it because they authentically say, will tell you, yes, Charles is he's excelling at 5th grade, whatever it is, or 10th grade, whatever it is. Some communities appreciate that and acknowledge that because they're like, oh yes, my kid's going to get into Cal, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not even worried about the grade of validating the student's ability. But this is also probably the same student that as a 10th grader probably can't safely navigate crossing a street, without a street light, right?
Yeah.
or tie themselves out of a knot. So there's a whole bunch of other skills that kind of go into this thing, which, I think if we're looking strictly at classroom grades, even with like that citizenship component, which is incredibly subjective. I mean, you look at my high school transcript, man, I was an AU student. I got A's in every class, but I got a U in almost every single class in high school, which meant unsatisfactory.
Wow.
I'll show them to you, man. I got them. I still have them.
Wow. You remembered them, huh?
I was a terrorist. Yeah.
Hey man, I mean,
Um,
and I get what you're saying, right? And I'll find the second article. That's the first article I just
yep.
posted was the
Okay.
commentary. Don't blame California teachers for inflated grades. Look
Yeah.
at school officials. So obviously, this is a more union friendly article.
I I agree
If
with
you
that
read it,
assessment.
I think so.
Yeah.
Listen, I
Yeah.
agree. This is why I chose the topic, right? And I chose it for the other podcast too, where I go much deeper in a conversation by
Yep.
myself. But I chose these because I agree with things from both of these articles, and there are some places where I think both of these articles are on their own bullshit. And so,
Yep.
like, and the reason why I agree that there is pressure that comes from multitude of places, from the top, from the bottom.
Mhm.
Like in my other episode, like I did an example of Oakland. I talked about when the Office of Civil Rights came in and they looked at OUSD and they said too many black and brown kids, especially boys, are being suspended, being kicked out of
Yep.
class, quality, the lack of graduation rates. All of this is terrible. And it's so disproportionate that we're calling this racist. So y'all need to fix it. And they had to fix the suspensions. They had to fix graduation rates. Well, so that's the end of the story, Dave. They just all were super ethical and school just got better and and everybody learned. No. They just started doing in-school suspension. How'd they fix the graduation thing? We just graduated, kid. We just pushed you through. A C is better than an F. And this, like you said, is sucks because we have to unpack this, but crowd, stay with us. You know me, I'm personally caught up into this because I wrote with Dirk and you helped out in many ways. Dump the D, Dump the D campaign. And God bless Dirk from the grave. See, one of the things about me and my brother Dirk, we did argue a lot, and I'm still arguing with him. I don't care that he gone. I talk to him like he here. Me and Dirk argued about the name, and I know why he chose it because Dirk is a writer. He is an education writer, and he knew how to kick it up. He knew how to write something that could get a reaction. So it was his naming convention of naming it Dump the D. And my thing was, I don't necessarily want to dump the D per se. I need parents to be aware that a D in some cases is worse than getting an F because it doesn't trigger the same reactions that an F gets.
Yeah.
You know,
in the mind of the average like high schooler, they're like, I passed the class.
Right.
Yeah, you get credit for it. You get credit for it. Yep.
And if you're playing, if it's the 90s or the 80s and you taking shop or you taking one of the other for y'all that are younger, high schools used to have vocational programs inside of them. Just the community colleges always had them, but some schools had stuff inside. So there was a bunch of kids that had shop. There was a bunch of kids that were taking other things that they could kind of leave and go into the workforce on. If you're one of those kids and you just going into work, then you probably just like, all right, if I got a bunch of A's and B's and this D, I can still walk. No biggie.
Yep.
But those kids are, go ahead.
So before we move on to this next thing, I want to kind of go back a little bit. And so we talked about the kind of narrow scope of even like the high school diploma, whatever it looks like in every state. Every state has their graduation requirements. Very narrow, right? It's a hoop. Everybody's got to jump through the hoop.
Right.
Every state has. I actually don't know if other states have, like an A through G kind of thing.
Right.
I think some do, some don't. Probably.
Got different, man. It's different.
But I think even the A through G in California kind of drives what California public high schools kind of set up as a graduation framework. But even that, it's like we focus so much on that, but even that is still incredibly narrow. And like you said, it's like it's a navigation exercise. It's like, can you learn how to game the system? And
absolutely,
that's a huge part of it, man. You're 100% right. I want to bring in.
Be friends with the teacher, brother.
Pretty much, man.
Try to help you out.
I mean, that's one way. Yeah. There's another thing I want to bring up here because this takes me back to my time at Unity High School. So now when we rewind the clock about 20 years, right? I think 20 years. Yeah, 20 years, man. It's crazy. And we had, an A through G curriculum. It was standard. And we also had an advisory curriculum. So the advisory was not like a homeroom where it's like you show up, whatever. It was in the middle of the day. It wasn't the first class. And there was a curriculum for it. And so we had these things that are called, so this is getting towards, it's not really addressing like the academic proficiency stuff that we're talking about, but it expands the tent around what are we assessing for. And so this makes it more kind of it's an attempt to create a more holistic assessment around academics, but also like, who are you as a person in your development? And so back in the 2000s, we had habits of heart. So that was like being a human, like around responsibility, around respect, around community building. We had habits of mind that had to do with critical thinking, problem solving, information gathering. We called that foundational literacy, right? At the high school level.
Okay.
We had a thinking habit around core values and academic skills. And I just looked at their habits of heart and mind as they still exist today, and they're different. They've changed. They should change. And now they're focused around the heart, around equity, social justice, self-advocacy, empathy, restorative practices, community leadership. The mind is around critical literacy, media literacy, data analysis, systems thinking, action-oriented problem solving. That's dope. I mean, this is like where they actually do the work. This is how you get to the work. This is where young people are able to like develop, grow, and get assessed on those. Those are the real life skills that you need to survive in the world. It's like no one's going to care if you've read Shakespeare or if you understand, what happened in the Dust Bowl or whatever. I mean, that's all important stuff. That information you can get now anywhere. But this is really about like, how do you develop as a human? And we had, I don't know what they look like now, but we had like rubrics. We had a curriculum for it. And kids got a grade on that stuff. So, this is the kind of thing that, most of our large high school systems, 90% of kids probably in this country don't have these conversations in their school. They're just focused on the graduation requirements, the standard classes, not ever able to connect it, right? So,
well, and I'm listening. Like I said, I'm wanting to hear more from you, I think, in this one, because of the perspective that you're coming from, because I'm thinking about it in a similar way. And I love all that. I love all that high order thinking. I think this is really important. You know what I want to hear? We have nailed reading and literacy. We will never, ever again have any group of young people reading at a 3 out of 10 clip. And that's not even like ESL people. That's not even ESL students. Okay. That's what ESL numbers should probably be. Like, and so I think it could be higher than that, but like, I want to hear that. I want to hear our young people are understanding how to do relational math, understanding like how to do math in the real world in ways that will help them. Like, so that's practical. Those two, if you give me those two things and basic science knowledge, like it's I just want us to get the basics right. And I want us to be honest about when we do or when we don't. And at the most basic level here, what we're arguing is about people that are lying to students
about lying to communities, lying to communities,
and lying to the end user. And when I started EC, man, people used to get mad that I use the end users. They used to get mad at a lot of stuff, right? But they used to get mad at the end user thing. And in the end user joint, why it's so important to me is because I hear Sharif and other people say this, like, schools don't have communities. Communities have schools. You serve at the behest of that community. And so, like, you got to give them the report. I love a leader that doesn't hide behind their data, but they actually use it to make them bolder in their mission to educate young people. And right now, when we're watching our country not be able to think critically, when we're watching our country devolve into this, I hate you, you hate me, when we're watching our country not be able to take general information and utilize critical thinking skills, and in the land where everybody can get a podcast, us included, everybody is by a microphone and you out there. But there are different levels to this. And that's why we always tell you whatever we say, one, there's a level of opinion, and two, look up whatever you hear from us. Go look it up for yourself. We're usually building these shows off of like actual articles and data and research. That's the bigger problem. And it's a broken, that's a breach in trust. Let me tell you what happened with the young people we've done. Last year, we talked to 350 Oakland kids in Oakland. Most of them are really high performing kids, over 3.0s, over 3.5, some over 4.0s. And we asked them, David, how many of you guys feel like you're one, reading at or above grade level? And two, how many of you think you're proficient in your STEM classes? When I tell you, it's not in front of me, roughly it was over 80% of those young people said that they were proficient. And then we looked up the actual data. Those numbers are pretty much 1 in 3. And then we did it again with our partner high school, working at a charter school. We want to continue this. Instead of going wide, this time we're going deep. We're going to go into a school and talk to everybody in this school. So we have our 22 fellows. They take the survey, but then they have to do their fellowship thing and get everybody to take the survey. Well, they did. It's one of these smaller schools in Oakland. So it's about 150, 170 students or something like that take the survey. You know what happens, David? Same thing.
Tell me. Yeah.
Same thing. And this is a higher performance school. This is a school that when you walk in, you're actually like, oh, learning is happening here. And I appreciate those leaders because of these conversations. They're not hiding behind that. They're like, no, we got to do better. Oh, I didn't know our students had an appetite to hear X, Y, and Z. Word, I want to hear more from them. So I have to fly out there. And these young people are about to present their research and data. And one of their findings, here are their findings. I don't think I'm spoiling it for anybody at that school. Top finding, we want to make sure communities are aware. So put the reading level on the report card. Put what grade level they're reading on the report card. And for STEM classes, this is just for extra. If we get this, God bless. I don't expect to get it. But next to those STEM classes, put how proficient they are. Put if they're proficient. And here's the thing. Everybody's going to get caught up on what's the assessment? What are we using? What are we using to talk about literacy or whatever? Listen, man, there's something that the state gives. I don't care if the state of California redefines and makes their own definition of workable literacy or whatever. Figure it out, norm on it, and then let's make sure families have it. So at least, and then people say, well, people are not going to do nothing about it. Listen, bro. Sorry to get on my soapbox, but because these excuses are so anti-people and anti-kid and pro-professional that it bothers me. So let me say this again. I don't give a damn if we do this and 5 million kids now have access and only 500,000 of their parents actually look at that and take action. So what? It's 500,000 people that wasn't taking action before. People deserve information regardless of what you think they're going to do with it. And just because you have low order thinking or you think very lowly of American people in California or these other states, that's a you thing. They still are entitled to know these things. And that's one of the top things we're pushing for in addition to peer tutoring from our kids that are
about like
above.
Talk about like a state level or even a federal level policy shift. Like, okay, every public school in this country is now mandated, in addition to sending home at least 2 report cards a year, right? You also have to accompany that report card with some kind of standardized assessment measure.
Right. Yep.
Right. And the federal government can like research and they can choose 5 tools, whatever it is, educate parents how to read these reports and say like, okay, here's your report card for Charles. And here's how he did on his assessment, right? His non-biased assessment, right? I mean, that does a couple things. That helps to educate parents to understand the difference between like the subjectivity of grades and, these more objective types of assessments. But it also puts pressure on the school systems to actually like make sure kids are learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can I share something with you real quick
Of course,
on the screen?
absolutely.
Okay.
All you, brother.
So this was something that we did when I was at, make sure I pull up the right thing here. Hold on. Wrong one. Okay, here we go. All right. So this is a deck that we used when I was at Urban Montessori.
Urban.
Our renewal. This is our
UMCS, baby.
Our renewal, right? And so I'd been brought in year 3 of the school. This reflects year 5. We had 3 years to get our what together, and we did. And we didn't, we had report cards. That was all good, but we also sent home what's called the NWEA reports. With every report card, you got a report card and an NWEA 4 times a year, right? And so when we showed up, and we would share this data with the community, right? I'm like, no one's going to care if we have this really cool, like multiracial, multi-socioeconomic Oakland hotspot school that does public Montessori, right? It was like the big buzz. If our kids aren't reading and doing math, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me, like we're failing our kids and our community. Mm-hmm. So when we went for our renewal, here's all the fun, fluffy stuff, right? Doesn't that look beautiful, right? It's so nice, and it's just the kids and little bubbles and whatever.
Innovating in Oakland, baby, yeah.
Yep. But how many failed innovations have come to Oakland? This school eventually got closed because they lost the plot. But I'll tell you here, there's Mr. Freedom. Okay, here we go. This was the centerpiece of our renewal. This is why the school was allowed to operate for another 5 years.
Okay.
Academics, NWEA. See that red line?
Yes.
The red line is the lowest performing tier on reading. Okay, across 3 fall cycles. We started this right away. So we had 3 years worth of data to show like we're moving kids out of the lowest tier, right? Focused on our highest needs children. Focused interventions, reading, mathematics. This is mathematics. Look at that math dip.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is data. This is not about your feelings. It's not about your behavior. This is about how kids do on the test. Look at language usage for older kids from 41 to 25 over 3 years, right? These 3 graphs alone secured, and the rest is all fluff. I'll call it fluff because I was there. That got us our renewal. We were moving our highest needs kids out of the lowest performing bands on this reliable assessment that's nationally normed consistently over 3 years. Boom.
Listen, I'm with you. I think that, like, listen, everything that you're saying, man, I'm so there with you. And part of what I'm pushing and why, and I just put the second article up there where I'm sorry, that might be the same one. I might have did the same one twice. My bad.
That's the same one, yeah.
Okay. Let me do the other one. My fault. I'll get it up there. Actually, if you got I got it up. I can do it. Let me do it before I forget because people are asking for it. Oops. You can say oops. Article 2.
Okay, here we go.
There we go. That's the right one. But this is why I wanted to do the show, because one, and I told Ryan this because he writes for us, and it's like when I saw those articles, I'm like, yo, this is what we do. Like, we need to kind of get up there. We need our article to be right there. And this is what my article is going to say. Parents and community, you got to be in this fight, because students have already shown me over and over and over and over and over again since I started this organization. They want this information. They are pissed off every time somebody else has to come in and tell them about their data. Their eyes go just like this to their principal or to their favorite teacher and be like, why didn't you tell me? I want to
Yeah.
know. And I don't care if that's not every student. I really don't. I really don't. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta make it available for those that are out there. But you have to now know what questions to ask. When your kid got a bad report card, hey, what happened? What's going on? How is he with the actual material? What is he supposed to learn at the end of the semester, at the end of the school year, the end of this month? If you want to really shock them, if you want them to really know they're dealing with a parent that knows something, use words like unit. Say like, what's the goal of this unit? Like some teachers are gonna love it. The good teachers love that stuff. There are gonna be some that's like, why are they asking about my unit? Yeah. You know why? And David can answer that. I'm not gonna put David in that position because he leads the school. He can agree or disagree on his own volition. Because a lot of these teachers don't make lesson plans anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of these teachers don't have lesson plans. They don't have an answer for you. There is no goal there. I think that's just really important. I think the other thing is parents, end users, parents, students, community. I know that AI is a big, scary thing, but here's some of the beautiful things that can happen with it. With AI, with new stuff, they're going to have the ability to do lessons that's tracking in real time mastery. Some school is going to turn all this stuff into some type of gamification that allows students to truly go at their own pace. Shout out to shout out to Indiana University, first championship ever. They beat
dude.
really good Miami team. I thought they were going to win by more. Miami fought. Next to Indiana University is Purdue. And there's a high school. There is a set of high schools. There's leader joins our pod. They join the show all the time. Miss Dr. Kiana Warren runs those schools. Purdue Polytech is a school that has more coaches than teachers. It is beautiful, David. I was so jealous of these kids. It's beautiful. It looks like a university. There are classes that are suggested, but most of these students have their own individual plan that's been worked on with a counselor, make sure it's college ready, but they do so much of the stuff on their own and go to adults when they need help, but it's really on their pace and they have an apparatus that's tracking their mastery. Like this is different. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff, but I'm just saying I'm beating this horse dead, but this is such an important topic because one, that when the elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. The top people in the union, the top people in reform, they're going to keep fighting. They're going to keep doing what they do. And I appreciate some of the points that both of those guys made, both teams made. But for you as a student, parent, and community, you are the people that have to live with the consequences of it. You got to live with those things because I took my black ass to college, a regular ass state school with a 383 GPA from AP English, AP Math, all this stuff, and didn't know what a thesis statement was. I had an A. I had nothing but A's. There were so many people that got sent down to remedial classes with me, and 1 out of 3 of us finished.
Yeah.
1 out of 3. So I'm just telling you, because all this stuff sounds good. Listen, you're going to go, and I'm going to stop right here after this and let you have it, bro, and take us out, right? But like, you're going to go to that education conference, and the big keynote speaker is going to come up, and he's going to say, or she going to say some cool stuff and talk about how important you are and things like that. And then they're going to hit you with the line. I'm going to tell you the line as somebody who speaks for a living. And the system is doing what the system was designed to do. And they drop the mic and they take their applause and they walk off. They've been saying that shit for 20 years. If you know the system, I'm just talking about from my consciousness level. I'm 42. Yeah. Since I got into this business, they have been saying this. The next time you hear it and say, so what? And then what? What is the plan that's supposed to help me? Like, if we know this and you know this, what are we doing? I don't want to hear that the standardized test is racist. I concede it's racist. We've had how many years to make a new one? I know it's a dead horse. So I will land my plane there. But my love language, like it says, is self-determination. I want you all listening to be self-determined because you might have the greatest school with great teachers. And I'm going to tell you, when you do got great teachers, they're not mad at none of this. They're not mad that you asking these questions. They want people to ask these questions. They want people to engage. And the number one quality that I saw when I did my own research in college, when I was doing my dissertation of what makes people, little black kids in the crack era, successful, the biggest factor that everybody had, David, and I rest here, it wasn't just their parents, which was really strong and close, but it was the students' love or understanding of the importance of education. The student has to cherish it. If the student can cherish it, and a parent can kind of carry you along till about 5th, 6th, 7th grade, but there's a part where there has to be a handoff, and mommy and daddy can't save you. So this is how you start doing it. You got to be aware. You got to ask questions. I will land my plane there, but I do want you to just take up the rest of the time, because I just, what do you can talk to, you're a parent in this. I want you to talk both to the parents and to the ivory towers in education, man, because you are both.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. There are real life consequences. You know what you were saying earlier, like whether you fail to graduate from high school, whether you graduate, don't go to college, or whether you graduate and go to college, like your story. You know, even for me going to community college, like I got my ass kicked for multiple years, you know, just trying to figure out things that I should have learned in high school with a fairly good GPA. But I was even underprepared for community college. And thank God I didn't go straight to university, man. I would not be here in this podcast right now if I'll tell you that. I would have ran away from education as far as I could, but I didn't. And then when I transferred to University of California at San Diego, I got my ass kicked again, but I made it through, right? I graduated. And it was incredibly like rigorous, and it was painful, and it, you know, it like almost destroyed me, but it made me a better person in the end. Point being is, like, you know, there are real life consequences for how our education systems operate for young people. I saw it in the comments earlier where we were talking about somebody's talking about like administrators and superintendents, and you know, they're concerned about keeping their numbers good, right? And not to have like accurate numbers, but like, you know, that they are pressuring administrators, and administrators are more than likely pressuring teachers to like not fail kids, right? And that shows up, you know, in grade books and report cards, and that has real life implications for the kinds of people that we talk about on this show, like Black, brown, low income people, special education students. And these systems kick them out into the real world, and they're just not able to navigate, you know, so many times. And that's why we keep seeing the data that we look at, the academic data that we see in our schools. We see that those same demographics show up in poverty and crime statistics in our adult populations, right? I mean, that's really what's happening. And so I think this whole thing with I think it's a great topic, and I'm thinking of the words like, I don't know, malpractice or fraud or something, you know, on some grand scale.
Education malpractice, I think, is a perfect term.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking right now, man. And it's malpractice. I'm telling you, like I have I'm able to support my son because I have the background, but
right.
I'll tell you this, man. We showed up to an IEP meeting last week, and they didn't have any kind of like standardized assessment data. It was all like teacher reported grades. And I was like, so do you have his iReady, NWEA, whatever assessment you're using? I get it, you know. And they all looked at each other like, well, what? I'm like, are you fucking serious?
And can I, and you can, or I can just clarify for the audience why that's such a, I'll do it as
because so because you're like you're
all qualitative data. That's all
without
qualitative.
Without that you're relying on people's words, and I don't care about your words. Of course you're gonna sit here and like puff up my kid. and say nice things that we're in the room. But I really want to know, is my kid like operating at the 10th grade level where he should be, right? It's not about feelings, believe me.
Oh,
It's just, but they're not even equipped in a major urban school district down here. They're not even equipped with those tools. I don't blame them, but it's an administrative issue. It's a district issue. Like they're not even talking about these things, right? It's crazy to have a huge high school district to not even be like clear on assessments. Like they're flying blind, right? They have no one can tell you how good the kids are doing, basically, right? It's insane.
and there's so much money. Listen, with IEP stuff,
Yeah, I mean, that's first-hand trauma account.
but that's important. I mean, so the way I got into education was through IEPs. I started as a social worker, and you get to dabble in healthcare, you get to dabble in legal, you get to dabble in education. I did tons of IEPs as a social worker, and it's one of the places where you see a lot of money passes through. There's a lot of money in the coffers for IEP kids. Like I've gotten tons of kids like personal taxi rides before Uber was out, like because there was issues on the bus. Like IEPs are one of the most powerful things you can utilize in education. You can change standards. You can have kids stay to their 22. Like there's a lot of things that you can do in IEPs. And the 504 plans, that's a whole different thing. But this is a huge, huge thing because listen, parents, if you go and you have an experience like David did, usually some schools, if they show up to the IEP wrong, even if it's the teachers, usually an administrator is there, and usually the administrators know how high leverage this is. Like teachers will usually get chewed out afterwards if they're not super prepared because it's IEP, it's legal binding documents. So when you show up and you haven't done the things that the state requires you to do,
federal government.
Yes, I'm sorry, the feds. My bad. Not even the state. Not even the state. I was about to name IDEA and all that stuff, right? But that's a microcosm. I promise you, with probably like most of the money in my pocket, if they're not getting IEPs right, I promise you, there's so much wrong in that school because it's hard to explain if you don't work in education. But it's like it's like the refs. Like we were just talking about football, the refs that they use for the playoffs and Super Bowl. Like, let's say those are IEPs. Those are IEP people. Like, it's not the regular season. It's not preseason. If a ref shows up just missing all kind of crazy calls, they're going to remove that person from the playoffs and they won't get a chance to be a playoff or Super Bowl ref again. Like, that's how serious this stuff is. And so, and this is where parents feel the most alone and they feel the most inadequate because you got all these professionals around the table and you don't know this stuff. And that's where they'll start to say, oh, well, that test is racist or that test is this or that. And it all might be. How did my kid do on the racist test? Thank you. Let's have the, well, give me that test and give me your assessment too. Where is your assessment that we can look at and can be vetted, in blind reviews and things like that? Oh, there isn't one? Well, damn, what are we supposed to do about this? And long gone are the days my mom just wanted to make sure, David, that I didn't get my name on the board, bro. If I didn't get my name on the board, that means I was acting okay. I had good grades. I was good. I got to be the people in my poor ass projects where all these people is dirt poor. They all took care of me and were happy for me. And I promise you, none of them knew any of this. So that's my thing. But final thoughts for you, David.
Yeah, I think, oh man, it's a good topic. I'm clearly passionate about this because I've lived it as a teacher. I've lived it as a principal, and I'm currently living it as a parent. I don't think in California, I will say our system is broken. Mm-hmm. I think there's definitely some utility for the A through G. But again, I think, I would love to see a world where policymakers got serious about mandating that public school systems, including charter schools, have to report, some other form of verified data to say how your child is doing. So
Mhm.
again, you get a report card and you get some other kind of third party assessment data, right? It'll never happen in California because politicians are bought and paid off by the union, and unions don't
This
like
is
that kind
true.
of stuff because that's like some truth serum, right?
Because I'm saying, how hard is it to put literacy? At least give me the read. At least give me the reading rates. At least give me the literacy rate on the report card. I'm gonna fight for
Oh
it.
man,
I'm gearing
yeah.
up for the fight.
I think it's a common sense thing. Um, I also think we didn't get that much into this, but um, I think schools should also be assessing. So I think doubling down on academic assessment is critical.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I think school systems should start to kind of flex and spread their wings a little bit when it comes to like social. I'll say it, social emotional learning.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was talking about the habits, the kind of work that can be done in advisory to start to assess and give students feedback on their development around critical thinking skills, personal skills, all this other stuff that we've kind of like assumed that they're going to get. And I think we shouldn't assume that. So I just think our systems can be doing and should be doing a lot more. I think by giving our kids the experience of the narrow like graduation requirement or A through G, it's a disservice to kids.
I
And at
agree.
that point, it just becomes a process of like, maybe you have a parent, that knows how to help their child to game the system, but kids are smart like you were, and you figured out how to game the system, right? I figured out how to game the system.
Well, I went to
And
10
this
of
is,
them. So,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
once I've been to some, and somewhere in there was a good one. So everywhere else was
yeah,
like, this feels off. This don't
yeah.
feel right.
And then you figured it out and you adjusted.
Yeah.
But I just think about the young people that get
It
lost
shouldn't
in the
require
system.
that. It
Yeah.
shouldn't
No, it
require a
shouldn't, man. It shouldn't.
9-year-old figuring out how to navigate, or an
If
11-year-old,
you're gonna
right?
do it, give me a damn grade for it or something, man. Give me some
Exactly.
credit.
Exactly. Now, as we close, and I think it actually was a beautiful coincidence that it is just us two, because I usually don't say where I'm traveling until I get back, because I don't like that, and people are crazy. I travel all over this country. I've learned this firsthand.
I like this comment. This is a
Yes,
good comment
I
here.
would say standardized tests are bad educator kryptonite, but yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I think good educators love it. I think Mr. Clark was like, "Let's do it, let's go." Mr. Clark was like,
Yep.
"We got this." But I would say, but the reason why I say this though, just as a special moment. I don't think you knew Rachel really well, but every year since his passing, a partner of ours, friend of ours, Kimmy Keene and Families in Action, which I'm a co-founder of and on the board of, do an event honoring both Dirk and Rachel. We lost both of them during COVID. Dirk was murdered. One of my best friends, one of my favorite people. And so I have the distinct honor this year. I will be hosting. So I'm flying out there tomorrow. It's going to be a
That's great, man.
heavy thing, but I knew both Rachel and Dirk really, really well. I would say this, David, is there anything that you want to say, just as we remember Dirk this week and his wife? I will make sure she gets this clip, and his son. So any words for our late great friend, and I will both you guys, both Dirk and Rachel, before I get off of here.
Yeah, I knew Rachel. I got to work with her for a couple of years.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great. My bad.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how well you know her.
It's all good. I would say, first and foremost, please let her know. I forget his wife's name.
Malcolm. Mina and Malcolm.
Let them know that I said hi, and that I'm still here doing the work, and that Dirk's passion. Dirk started me in this business. It sounds like Scarface, right? Where he's like, "Hey, I started you in this business," But he literally gave me my first shot at my first job in education in Oakland. So, and it's the only reason I'm still here is because of the things that he taught me, and the passion and the focus and his his approach to the work. his lens. I think both you and I got that from him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just let them know, that we're still out here doing this, and we have no plans to stop. And I was grateful for the time that I got to spend with him, both as a friend and a colleague. And I'm glad you get to spend some time in Oakland. So just tell everybody I said hi.
Yeah, and I'm not really letting everybody in Oakland know I'm being Oakland, just because it's just
yeah, it gets crazy.
Hard. And like I said, I usually don't tell people where I'm traveling until I get back, because there's a lot of expectations, especially when you go home. If I go into Oakland or Kentucky and somebody finds out, it's always a thing. I will say this. Let me start with Rachel. Rachel, you just were, she was younger than me. Beautiful soul, man. And she went hard in this work, and we was protective over each other. She protected me in a lot of ways. And I think we met at first because I think I was giving a talk and she saw it, and our work brought us together, but we always kind of requested each other and just started working together. I met some of my favorite people. I know JR is right because of her, who she introduced, and we just were soldiers in it, man. And she just put up, and and she got taken so unexpectedly. It was like she got sick, went to the hospital, and was gone. I still don't know exactly what happened, but her spirit continues to live on. I love you, lady. I cannot wait to have this event, and we see, how your kids are doing, how your family is doing, and Kimmy always is really good about making sure that the family gets things and has support. So I'm looking forward to that. And now Dirk, same with you, man. Hell, Dirk might have been part of us meeting. Dirk introduced me to so many people in this education space. We both met each other because we were fans of each other's writing. We both did a lot of education writing and hanging out at board meetings till 2 a.m. some nights, 1 a.m. Just shows you how crazy our board meetings are. And we built up this relationship, man. And he's been there for every company I started. We helped found FIA together with Kimmy and Hasten, and David, you were around, and Jorge was there. And it just ain't as fun without him. It's just not as fun without him. I don't know if I enjoy it in the same way. There was if I'm not able to, if I'm on a road like with you and Omar, or back when I was doing A Black Hands, or when me and Dirk would kind of have to go somewhere and do stuff, I miss those moments. So I would just say I cherish them. I do think it makes me appreciate you more, David. I think, we give you shit and a hard time on the show, but that's just fun stuff. We're supposed to get on your nerves. You're the statesman. But the big brother role that you stepped in as when Dirk left, and just have kind of always been there and always been somebody for me to lean on and talk to, and go on with my harebrained schemes and push and not be afraid to fight with me. Between you, Dirk, and Jorge, and Chris Stewart, and Sharif, and J Artist Right, and all these people, I fought a lot of battles without fear. Now the biggest thing that I have to fight is just staying in this work and not getting frustrated, because it's hard when you don't have those people to bounce off of. So these people are not part of the South Star Classroom, but they are every part of the South Star Classroom.
That's right. They are for sure. Yep.
And to both of those families, we love you. We're praying for you. I don't know what I'm going to host this thing. I haven't written the words. I don't write them out really, but we will see. I've hosted things before. I've hosted things in front of 6,000-7,000 people before, but this small intimate group, it requires a different muscle in me. So a lot of people have been mad at me the last 2 months, David, because I'm just, if it ain't work, I'm not returning. I haven't returned a bunch of calls. My phone ain't always on me. Like I get yelled at by family, friends, all this stuff, right? And it ain't as easy being connected to people. But I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna give your love. And to Dirk and Rachel, we send our love. And if you are in the chat, why don't you just, to either one or both, throw up a RIP Rachel and Dirk. I think they check their notifications in heaven. So we'll make that happen. And with that being said, this has been another episode of the South Star Classroom. For Jubilee and Omar, that's David, and I'm Charles, and we will see you all next week. Same bat time, same bat station. And I'm going to change up my sign off a little bit. the people that you love, that you might take for granted, that's right there. That's right there in front of you. Give them a hug, touch them, because you won't be able to forever. And enjoy. I know Trump is out here, and I know people don't know history, and I know people feel like these are the worst times of all time. They're not. We've been through these things before. It doesn't mean it doesn't suck. It doesn't mean that it sucks any less. And as somebody who is notoriously not connected to people, who does not strive for human connection, I think that may be the only thing that will get us through today. So go connect with somebody. With that being said, God bless y'all. We out. Peace.
Peace.